broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Show you the world.
Take it, Danny.
Shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess, now when did
I got my first kiss during Aladdin.
She's just
a whole new recap. Open your eyes. Take
Voice of an angel.
Wonder by wonder. Brooks, where are you at? We performed this together. We rehearsed
I got
this.
shy.
You guys need to join our pre-show because I'm telling you the stuff you didn't see. But welcome, everyone.
Don't you dare close your eyes.
Okay, I gotta get this, Danny. I gotta get this out. Welcome to the Bachelor After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. This is season 11, episode 5.
Where to go?
Danny's gonna keep singing. I'm JC. I'm your kitty wrangler, sometimes host. You can follow me at JC Rubio TV on Instagram and Twitter. What, Cathy?
I was gonna say that Brooks is periscoping us live while we're doing a live show.
Is that not a thing?
Mind trip.
Oh, you know it's gonna be one of those nights, guys. Introducing the rest of the panel, starting with the lovely lady to my left.
Hey, I'm Cathy Kelley on Instagram at Cathy Kelley and on Twitter at Catherine Kelley.
And the Bachelor superfan himself.
Hey guys, I'm Aladdin. You can find my work in a lot of old pawn shops and... Because I was singing the song.
Danny, where can they find you?
You can find me on social things. My name.
Use the internet.
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Danny Hoyt, but you can find me on Snapchat at DannyHoyt47.
And of course, and you know what? Fans are already saying Danny plus singing equals meme.
Oh, crap.
Or ratings.
I wouldn't go that far. Okay, and of
Both.
course, our Bachelor, he was on the show. Hello,
He was on The
everyone.
Bachelorette.
Yes. Introduce yourself to the
That's
Bachelor
what my dad
After
says
Show
at
Nation.
Bachelorettes. My name is Brooks Forrester, and I was once on The Bachelorette.
Really? I didn't know that.
And we're gonna have some inside scoop stuff tonight. I've got stuff for you.
Foreshadowing.
I've got info and breakdowns. And you can find me on
Scoop
Twitter
beats.
at Brooks Forrester. And, let's talk on Twitter or on Periscope. I'm Periscoping live right now, so jump on, ask questions if you want.
But you're like the master at Snapchat as well, too. So come on, where can they find you there?
Oh, it's at Brooks-Forrester. It's confusing because I cannot get at Brooks Forrester for all the different platforms. Somebody sneaks in and gets them.
We'll buy them.
Not the master of memory.
Let's move on.
All right. So, and of course, hello, fans. And running the ones and twos, who do we have? Is it Jonathan again?
Yes. Your
Jonathan.
engineer for the night, Jonathan.
Thank you. Where can they find you, buddy?
At JMolton87 on Twitter.
Fantastic, special effects and all. Now,
Yeah.
of course, fans, we know chat rolls live. Hello, fans. And of course, for you watching at home, I've got a special request. I know I asked for tweets and whatnot. Yes, I do. And last week, I asked you guys to actually take part of a survey. And it's a great survey. It takes about 3 minutes. All you have to do is go to podcast1.com and just let us know what you think about the show, what changes, if you'd like to hear Danny sing some more, create memes. Let us know what you think. It'll help us get to know you better and help us make a better show. So go to podcast1.com. Do it now, podcast1.com. All right, so it's the Nick show. Basically, let's talk about overall impressions of tonight. I think I said it there, I'm sure.
It was a lot of Nick. I think the Nick show was.
Yeah, I want to
apropos.
see. I want to see the fallout. I'm excited to see what happens. Like it was the presentation of Nick. Actually, it wasn't even. It was the pre-presentation. We haven't even got the official Nick entrance presentation. Cathy called it. She was like, "They're not even going to show him meeting the guys," and then the door shuts.
Every single time someone comes back on, they're hated by everyone there. Whether you were the villain of the season or like Casey B, the nice person on the season, no one likes you. Why would you do it unless you want more TV time?
Chris B was it last season with Andy?
Yeah, but everyone knew that wasn't going to work out.
Yeah.
No, but before that, and I'm sure you're going to chime in throughout all of this, Brooks, but we got to talk about the finishing of last week's episode with Clint and how that fallout played
That's so
out.
weird to me. It's just weird.
The bromance is over.
Yeah, the bromance was funny, and then it just got... There was a shift somewhere where it got weird, and then Clint got really upset.
Right.
I mean, it was really overly upset. More upset than I would expect him to
You
get.
think overly upset? I thought it was appropriate. I
Yeah.
mean, they were really good friends, and he stabbed him in the back, and he was like, "You man."
Yeah.
I actually said it. They just bleeped me out. That was pretty good.
Good timing. Right, he's on the bleep button. I feel like, though, yeah, I guess it's rightfully so. I just feel like he got really upset really quick. And, I mean, it like,
Alcohol
personally...
is involved.
You
for
think
sure.
alcohol is involved for Clint?
Oh, yes.
I know JJ was drinking the show
yes.
drink, but I didn't see Clint drinking.
No, I think that Clint was drinking earlier in the night, and he thought he was safe because he had a great conversation with Caitlyn.
Oh,
and
didn't he? Yeah,
then-
you're right. Didn't he, like, swirl a drink?
Yeah,
Like, with
and
a
then-
sinister
sinister.
swirl.
So
Villain's
it's
got a vil.
what
Villain's got a
in the course of an hour or two to think that you're safe, and then not really knowing that people are telling her otherwise behind your back, whether they're his true colors or not.
Yeah.
I think that put Caitlyn in a really interesting spot because she went guns a-blazing into that conversation about how determined she was to get him off, and then he backtracked, and for a moment there we thought, I think everyone watching was like, oh crap, he's gonna convince her
Like
to
she
stay,
said,
and
he's
then
a sweet talker.
They held hands on the way back to the...
Thank you,
That was
Danny.
weird, yeah.
Yeah, Cathy said something about it as we were all thinking the same thing. Like, why are you doing that?
why did he have his belt
Because
off
haven't you ever dated someone?
before the conversation as well?
Ask JJ. I
Haven't
don't
you
know.
ever dated someone though that like says all of the right things, but you don't trust them in your gut?
Yeah, you think it was a gut thing for Caitlyn? Like
Yeah.
he says a lot of the right things. She just knew something was off.
They say all the right things, they do all the right things, but something like you just know that they're not trustworthy.
Can someone answer me this? Okay, she booted him off the show. Why would she bring him back to the men?
Because
That was
To give him a
weird.
fair chance to say his goodbyes. And also, I kind of respect this because it shows the men in front of them that she's capable of making a decision and she's capable of being decisive and doing something in favor of them. I'm not mad about that. I actually kind of like that she did that.
Is that giving her equity for what happens later on with Nick?
Possibly, but she can't know that in that moment. She
Right.
can't think, I'm going to do this. So I
Well,
get a
no.
little
I
bit of
didn't mean it in that
clout.
sense, but I mean later on now as the episode unfolds with what you're saying.
It could, but they'll forget it.
who was it that
I
she
think they already
promised?
have.
Who is
Yeah.
it that she promised last week's episode? Oh, you can say whatever you want about him because he's going home and you'll never see him again. And then she brings him back.
Except for now.
You're right. That's funny.
Do you want to talk about the breakup between Caitlyn and Clint, or more so the breakup between JJ and Clint?
Well,
JJ
that
and
had
Clint.
more significance.
Yeah.
I mean, let's really get into that. I mean,
The breakup between Caitlyn and Clint, though, was very odd because they recited so many words over and over. I really, really, really liked you.
Very,
I had
very,
a very,
very, very, very
strong feelings for JJ.
JJ.
no, fans are agreeing with what Danny just said as well. I think Caitlyn wanted to show the guys that she won't bring Clint back.
Yeah.
So, well said.
It was kind of like making a demonstrative move. I applaud you for that, Miss Kaitlyn.
And I think you're also right, Danny. I said it.
Wow. Can I Periscope
Can we
and
get an
record
AfterBuzz
that?
exclusive on that?
Yeah.
I agree that she's made that decision, and it is a great decision that she made. But the guys have already forgotten about it.
Yep.
And she's made a lot of interesting decisions. Some of them were like, "Yeah, we applaud that," and others that we might talk about here in a second, you might not applaud, or you might be like, "Yeah, good for her."
Until this point, I think that she
Sounds like foreshadowing.
she still is my favorite Bachelorette.
She's great. She carries the show well. She's
She's done it
good
better
TV.
she's done it better than anyone else I've seen.
I mean,
so
like if
far.
they cast people, if they put out a casting calling cast people, she'd probably still get cast. She's great.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this plays in. Maybe there's a different. We've seen some different things in this season than in seasons past, and it feels like it's more her show than it ever has been in the past. There's been a lot of cut tos and go to commercial breaks, and then we don't get the entire scene. And now we're seeing like these single shots, and the cameras are clipping just to the inside, from outside the exterior to interior. And so we're getting a lot more of the full story, I feel. and there's not a production or like a producer coming in and saying like, hey, this is how we want it to flow, and they're just letting that flow out.
Is that a
Does
good
that make
thing?
sense?
Is that a good thing?
I think it's great, and I think that's why
Yeah.
we're feeling like Kaitlyn takes the show. She's taking charge because we're getting to see those decisions where, as in seasons past, we weren't seeing that. What do you guys think?
She's also taking more ownership of the dates as well. Like, she's saying, oh, I wanted to do this date because it's something different. Even though I know she doesn't plan any of them, it seems like even the guys were taking notice, oh, we're going to do something crazy because she wants us to do something that we've never done before.
Yeah, which I like. It makes for good TV, and it makes for like something fresh for this franchise.
Absolutely.
Which is fun. Fresh.
Very well said. Nice little setup that. But before we get to New York, I think, Danny, you want to share something coming up for our lovely
Kaitlyn is
guy.
my least favorite Bachelorette.
Who said that? Who said that?
Rotor 13.
Oh,
no,
that wasn't you,
no,
Brooks?
it wasn't Rotor. No, that was... I can't even say
The
the name.
lighting in the studio is no bueno. That's awesome. What are you talking about?
Babatunude Fashola. Kaitlyn is my least Bachelorette.
Guys, I would like to talk about Astronaut Wives Club. Jeez. It's this new show that's coming out this summer on ABC. Flashback to the 1960s, when America was racing to send a man into space. Check this out. It follows 7 elite pilots that become the country's first astronauts. But as these men become our heroes, their wives are also rocketed, pun intended, to stardom.
rocket.
Now, it's based on a best-selling book. You guys might have heard of it before, but it's a story of the first ladies of space. Through triumph, through tragedy, they forge this friendship that lasts over 50 years. It's called the Astronaut Wives Club. It premieres Thursday, June 18th on ABC. My friend Matt Lanter's in the show, so watch the show.
Very nice. Kind of reminds me of like Pan Am from a few
I was
years
going
ago.
to say Pan Am.
Yeah.
I just got, my sister and brother-in-law got me a Pan Am little thing for my golf clubs that has my name on it. In case anybody steals my golf clubs, they can know who they stole them
Is
from.
it from the TV show or from the airline?
It's from Catch Me If You Can,
Ah.
the movie.
the airline. The stickers off the planes in the bathtub.
All right. Settle down.
What
you
are we
two.
talking about
We're
right
talking about New York City. We moved on to New York.
City. I did
Awesome.
not know that hotel rooms existed that close to Times Square like that either. With their own private balcony, that's cool.
Wow,
That's
shot?
a cool penthouse suite. That'd be a good like bachelor trip.
Are you kidding me? It was spectacular.
Or bachelor.
And all the dates
technically.
were awesome. The group dates were awesome.
Yeah.
They nailed it.
were awesome.
You think
They
so?
did last. Yeah, I have not seen a bad group date yet. Like some seasons were like, yeah, that's kind of lame. That's a bad group date. The group dates this season have been awesome.
They're definitely recycling a lot, though.
They've had
Tell
a
us-
wrap off before?
Tell us what you mean.
Yes, they've had a wrap
Besides
off
Right
before.
Reasons from 2 seasons ago, right?
But yeah, they've had
Right
wrap-offs
reasons,
before, and they've
for
had
right reasons.
Broadway
For the past
shows
10
before, too.
Damn it. You're right, Kathy. All right, well, then let's talk about this season.
Wait, can I say something about the group dates?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
But the group dates are interesting because previously everything's about fun, right? The group dates are about having a fun time and getting in a vulnerable space, which a lot of times we think, oh, it's difficult in that dynamic. But I think the group dates are critical not only so that you can have fun, you can get out of your shell, but I was just having this thought flashback to when I was on Dez's season of how important it is to be in those dates because you get into this vulnerable space and you get used to
Yeah.
being vulnerable, and those group dates are super important because that's the small space that you're going to have. But if you ever have a chance of actually falling in love with someone on the show, because it is difficult if you don't do that, and that's why I was excited to see like Chris Cupcake
Yeah.
put himself in a pretty vulnerable space.
Yeah, he did.
And I was like, good for him. You know what I mean? Because he may get ridiculed, and I'm sure there are people saying mean things about him on the internet, and the same with Jared. But those two in this episode, in my opinion, went the furthest to put themselves in a vulnerable space and are getting, and I think we'll see that make, how do we say that?
It's
Like
pay off.
exponentially will pay off.
Yeah.
Continue
later
to make an
on.
impression.
It's the
I actually,
opposite of Clint,
Yeah.
essentially.
Well, and I actually said this out loud about Chris when he was on stage. I said, I like this guy because he's unabashedly himself.
Mm-hmm.
And even the Broadway director was like, he's not he's overdoing it, but he's not mocking it. It's just who
bad.
he
I
is.
love that they were confused a little bit, though. They were like,
We're like, wait, is he at first? And
No.
then who was it? Andrew that said like he's puffing out his chest and he's doing these moves. Andrew did better moves in his mock of Chris than than he did when he was actually on stage.
Yeah, and he got
Kaitlyn.
ridiculed for it. He's like, I'd get beat up.
Yeah, he said I'd get beat up where I come from.
So how do you,
Just
being
Keene,
in a
Idaho.
vulnerable position, how do you overcome that of like you're literally competing with 4 or 5 other guys on a group date for one girl's attention?
Don't try too hard. I think that's the biggest thing. Is if you try, that gets noticed. If you just be you. I know
Yourself.
that
Be
sounds
yourself.
so cliche to say, but like, look what Chris did. Even look what Joe from Kentucky. He forgot the words, so he just was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a moment.
Yeah.
It was a little cheesy, but he was himself, and I can't get mad at him for that. You know, it was a little cheesy. He didn't know what to do, so he went back into. I'm gonna make an impression on this girl. I'm gonna tell her what I feel, and I used a moment for himself.
Well, I think we fast forward, we skipped
over a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the Dougie Fresh, the rap battle.
Yeah.
You know what we caught there? Did we catch anything there? Really? Between, let's say,
Some
Sean B.
people were good at raps and some people were...
Yeah,
No, but
I
that's
tweeted.
Kaitlyn that's her thing. Remember, she is all about just people rapping and having battles, as you remember from last season. So
She loves to rap, which makes me think that she did have a say in this a little bit. Maybe not Dougie Fresh, but she had a say in like, I want to see if these guys can rap, and pulls out a rap battle.
You think she listens to rap music, or she actually herself is like, I like to rap?
No, she
like
listens.
she's got stuff.
I follow her on Snapchat, and the girl she'll like do a snap. She'll start it, and then she'll like has music playing in her car, and she'll rap every word like at the camera, and then laugh at herself. That's exactly who she is on the show. Is who she is.
I love that she laughs at her own jokes.
She laughs
at her
That's one
jokes
of
all
my
the time.
favorite qualities ever.
Unabashedly, which I kind of love when people do that.
After they make a joke.
but that's the key. Make
yeah.
a joke first.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, but
Got it. Let me.
Who's
take
the
nothing.
funniest person on Kaitlyn's season?
Kaitlyn. That's
said.
important.
But I think we're missing the most important part of this whole date.
Which the rap date?
Yes, the rap date.
No,
There
that
was some
Nick was
low.
there.
Well, by the way, before we get to that, there were some low blows taken by some of the guys.
What
I
was-
thought. I wish we would have seen
JJ?
more play out. Yeah.
Calling everyone a hoe.
Well, before that though, Sean said your or what did he say about your bromance with JJ? Or like you and Clint, your BFF, your boyfriend Clint, or he said something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And JJ just kind of like smiled and nodded it off. But I was like, whoa, that's a low blow.
They-
Like the day after Clint gets let go.
They 100% cut JJ's rap down, and I think they cut in like the booze and the people looking uncomfortable.
Is that foreshadowing?
No, I just think that it was bad editing, or I mean, good editing.
Good
on their
editing to
part,
make him
but
bad. But it's the same thing they did when he did stand-up. They cut out a bunch of his stand-up. So I don't know, does that bode well for JJ in this
No,
season?
I think
it
they're
would make
over-
him more of a villain.
You think so?
Yeah.
I would
I
figure
agree.
by seeing more of it, wouldn't we see that he's not as
If he
Makes
had
me think that he
continued
did
his
well.
rap and he did well, then people would have been like, "Oh, he's at least funny." But
Yeah.
now he just looks like a jerk because
Yeah, but calling them hoes, like, what are you thinking,
I don't think he did
bro?
that intentionally. I think he was, in his mind, when he wrote it, he was saying that the other guy has a bunch of girls around him when he's in New York, not calling the people in the
Right,
audience.
but they're from New York, so it's like, well, and here's what I think it is. It was a gross mismanagement of his words.
Oh, you remember?
Throwback.
I think we're just making too big of a deal out of it because the most important part was her running into Ashley I, which introduced her to
so many
Nick.
Ashleys. Can we go back though? The Ryan Gosling joke was,
That was
hilarious.
very funny.
That one was so good.
The Matt
Chew
Damon
that down.
versus
You chew that down.
Justin.
Justin, yeah,
did.
he's smart and witty.
I love you
That
how you
was-
said how surprised you were. He's smart.
And you're witty.
I didn't see that in him before.
People like you.
What does Justin look like again? I'm trying to remember which
Matt
one.
Damon.
No, he's the one that you said looked like Jeff Holm with bigger lips.
Yeah, I tweeted that. Actually. Jeff, I don't mean that offensively. You guys both have good hair. He just has bigger lips. Next,
I'm letting that one lie.
Yeah, I know.
Pull your
It's just,
head.
yeah,
But the whole thing about remembering that was good. I forgot what he said.
as you're talking about, got it. Okay.
Brooks, moving on. Brooksy, let's talk about the introduction of Ashley I, which was great, but
Why was she there? Just randomly was in New York.
That's what I
I
was
think it was
asking.
a producer's thing, is they had to have other. Well, she lives in DC, so at least that's close.
Train.
But
Yeah.
the producers had to have someone else from past seasons there, so it's not just like Nick shows up by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Although it doesn't really make sense because had they met before?
Maybe.
That's what I'm
No.
kind of cloudy about, because we know they've had some dialogue on social media and whatnot, but how much? I mean,
Yeah.
Does Ashley S. live in New York as well?
Apparently.
Oh yeah, she does hair in New York. Gee,
Yeah.
why didn't she
Oh, she
come
does?
with Nick?
Yeah. I love that comment. She's like, she's actually really smart. Clip to her saying, I can't remember what it
Yeah, what
was,
did
but
she
we
say?
both
We both looked at each other.
laughed and we were like, set up Ashley again.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
oh, Ashley. But let's get to the whole topic. The majority of our talk tonight is going to be about Nick. It has to be, because I mean, he's already got this. I guess. How would you describe it? Just the boy brings in a lot of, baggage.
As he would describe it, he's the accidental villain.
Yeah.
Okay, accidental villain.
But I wouldn't call it baggage. I think that's too heavy a word. He's not bringing in. There's stuff that comes with him, but I don't think he is bringing that. I know I defended Nick on the show when we were on it, but like, here's my thing. If you feel that way about a girl, whether it's a show or whether it's whatever it is, obviously they had enough of moments via text. They had never met, but enough moments via text that he was willing to put himself out there.
Just
I can't hate him
arguing
for
though,
that.
could he have not said prior to her going on the show, I would like to date you. If you would like to date me, give me a chance.
Okay, so let's hypothetically play this out for a second. Kaitlyn even said in the moment interview, she said, we had a moment just as I found out I was going to be on the show. Just as I was finding this out, we had the moment. So in Kaitlyn's mind, like, God, I kind of have feelings for this guy, but I just found out I have a chance to be on the show. Am I going to turn this down for a maybe, or do I go for a bunch more maybes and this is still a maybe?
so why didn't he come in the first night? Like a
maybe-
crispy.
Producers.
I mean, yeah, that's I think that's on a ratings thing. But I see from both their sides. I can't be mad at Kaitlyn and I can't be mad at Nick. For me, if I'm in the house,
Yeah.
obviously I'm going to feel a little bit like, I don't want to see another guy come. But I can't put that on Nick. And I think the foreshadowing they show, I know I'm wrapping a lot of things in here, but of what Ian says to her, I would fault Kaitlyn more than I would fault Nick in this situation.
Yeah.
Nick's just wanting to explore something that he felt. Even though that's what Kaitlyn's doing too, she's in the power position. She's the one who makes the final
I
decision.
think it was also the way that she brought him in was she's showing the guys that clearly she has feelings for him
Yeah.
already, and so that intimidates them. I think there were guys that handled it well, and I think there were guys that showed a lot of jealousy.
I think we're going to see even worse things play out.
Well, and I think relationships in general are difficult. So this is not a new thing, I think, in relationships in general. I think people have had this conversation where there's an ex that comes up or there's been a relationship that hasn't truly been explored. And those who are truly honest in their relationship will say, hey, this is something that I need to explore. And I know that's really hard to hear, but until I do that, we can never really truly be in love because that's holding me from doing that.
There's
And
no
I feel
thought
like
life.
that as soon as it was introduced, because I don't feel like Kaitlyn knew beforehand, she was like, oh, this is a possibility. We saw how excited she was backstage. She was like, it's Nick.
Right.
She was already set up, so she couldn't, there was no option for her, in my opinion, because in order for her to continue to find somebody and for that someone to be truly, in love with her, she has to explore that. So I think some of the guys have that perspective of like, yep, she has to do that for herself. I want to
way-
be chosen as
Can the other men compete with history?
The way that they were talking seemed more like there was more than just a couple text messages,
Right.
which is what they led on to.
Yeah. Well, I would think so too. If he felt enough of something, I would assume that there was probably, and he even said when he first sat on the couch that they're in the club, he goes, it was brief, real brief like this, which makes me think, as a guy, I'm thinking this was a week and a half, 2 weeks, maybe 3 max. Fellas, back me up on this, of there was something here, we're going back and forth, there was flirting, it was received, flirting back, it was received on my end, maybe a couple FaceTimes and phone calls, but they still never met in person, which means it can't have gone that far. Maybe a couple long phone calls.
So you think it may have been romanticized a little bit?
No.
Because you know how you text back and forth and
Yeah.
you start to build an image of who
Yeah.
that person is, and then you're like, oh, I really need to, and then you meet them in person, you're like, oh, this isn't.
No,
It's
because
also-
they met in
working.
person and kissed 2 hours later.
But it's at the very
Well, how do you
beginning
know
of the
this?
relationship,
Sure.
and especially what Ashley S. said is it could be lust.
It could
And
be. Actually,
when
that
you-
was the smartest thing she said. To me.
She was so
Back that
smart
point, it
in
was
that
great.
moment. And there are, at the beginning stages of a relationship, a lot of the time, what we don't know about a person, we fill in those gaps
Yeah.
with positive things.
Absolutely.
of what we want in the ideal companion.
And then if it doesn't happen, they fall short, and then that's where resentment comes in.
How do we compare this? Because Danny, we've all said they had some sort of dialogue, maybe a few weeks, chatting here and there. How much time do you think they have possibly spent talking to each other, as opposed to the time the Bachelors have had with Kaitlyn on the show? Because you get a total of, what, 48 hours, would you say?
I would say more. And here's why. Because they had no parameters on when they could talk. If they were texting...
I have no idea.
Easily.
Well, if they were texting, it could be good night text, it could be good morning text, it could be middle of the day, where the guys in the house can't reach out using a cell phone. They can't just choose when to talk to her. It's set for them. So I would say Nick, to this point, has a huge head start on these guys.
And even on the show, in this episode, he's gotten just as much one-on-one time with her as guys that have had one-on-one dates
true.
with her.
Yeah, that's really true. And I thought it was interesting that he said, was it him or her? But Kaitlyn said they were outside. It was like right after he gets out of the taxi, when he comes up and he like has the umbrella he's like using as his walking stick, and he stands there and he's like, so what's the deal? And she said, well, there's a couple guys I've developed. She mentioned a couple. I think she either said few or a couple that she's built strong relationships with, which tell me of the 13 that are there, I'm taking her at her words, there's really only two or three that he's going to be competing with, in my mind.
I think that he also, regardless of how much time they've talked prior to the show, he has a leg up because they do have that connection of he understands what it's like to have already been on the show and come off and had all of the media attention, and none of the guys who are on the show now have been in that position.
That's such an interesting idea too, because we're really talking about how he has a leg up in this scenario as opposed to just the relationship. So the Bachelor's such an interesting Bachelor because you can't separate the two entirely. You can't say, oh, well, good for him and good for their relationship, because that's ultimately what it's about, because it's not ultimately just about that. Also, it's the show, and we want to see all these other elements play. And if it doesn't happen, we're not happy.
Yeah.
Now, could it be, Danny, you mentioned that there's a couple, maybe a few, that are her main guys, aside from Nick. Could one of them then be Jared, who ended up getting that rose for the group date, and they went on that
I want to say
one-on-one
something
date
about this, because I tweeted this. She's on the date with Jared, and they cut to an interview where she says, all I'm thinking about is just a few hours ago that I brought Nick to the house. And I tweeted this. I said, if you're on a date with someone and you're thinking about someone else, and then you bring up someone else, you would rather be with
That other person.
someone else.
Yeah.
And so that was a clear indicator for me. While she could have that great moment, I think of there's 13 guys in the house at this moment, separate from Nick. Is that correct?
Yes.
Those are 14, because Clint left.
I believe it is 14, including Nick.
14 including Nick, okay? At this moment, take Jared away, you could probably slide 6 or 7 of those guys into that position in that helicopter over New York City, and she would have a great time. 2 or 3 of them, I think she'd say the exact same line, this is one of the greatest nights of my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep. So to answer your question, I don't think
I'm the naive
Jared
one
is-
on this one.
I don't think Jared is it either.
Yeah.
I think that he is a great guy, and some of the things that he said that night were incredible. He had the perfect answers, and they seemed genuine.
And he pulled out a movie quote. He pulled out a WWE movie quote. That was funny. That got brownie points for him.
And he
but-
took a bit of Nick's angles as well. He wrote her a poem.
Yeah.
He has been a stand-up guy throughout this entire process, from originally being truthful and honest
About
and
Britt,
talking about how he chose Britt, to tonight when she asked him about Nick coming back, and he's like, I don't want to talk about that. I wouldn't want to waste our time talking about someone else. I just thought that all of his answers were perfect, but they didn't seem rehearsed, or that he was sweet-talking her.
Well, and there didn't seem to be, back to Danny's point, there didn't seem to be a lot of chemistry there. So, and either between her and Chris as well, which I was surprised, because I was always a fan of Chris, but I'm noticing in this episode that
She
there's
does the closed mouth kisses.
there's something going on there, and I think he feels a little uncomfortable. There was like nervous energy and uncomfortable energy backstage with them. Like some of the lines, some of the things he was saying before he went in for the kiss, like he said, like this, like meaning like this moment, this special moment, and then they kissed.
She was also so close to his face, and she like turned away while he was talking, and then went back, and then he kissed her.
Do you think he just ate like onions or something?
He's like, those crafties backstage at this
No,
thing got
he
a lot of ham
flosses his
sandwich.
teeth all the
He's a
time. He
dentist.
brushes his teeth. He
Doesn't mean
probably uses mouthwash like 6
Now
times
you like
a
to
day.
think, your breath don't stink. But I want to read this. This just
That's
popped
what
up.
no.
Go. It's yours.
That's why I
didn't know
brought
if you
it
saw
up.
it. Bring it up. Say it.
Face.
I didn't know if you saw it. I thought it just came
that's
across.
why I brought it up on my computer. So
All right, spit it out, you two.
Rate it, Cathy Kelley.
Caitlyn tweeted tonight. She said, "If you have nothing nice to say, just hide behind your phone and tweet it to me."
And then the next tweet from After 5 Now says, Cathy.
After 5 Now wrote, "Ho ho ho, Caitlyn Bristow is a hoe," and she goes, "Merry Christmas."
She quoted it and said, "Merry Christmas." She's so freaking funny.
Nice.
I love that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Someone else. I just thought this was hilarious. Positivityness said, "I lose respect for you the more I watch this show." To Caitlyn, and she goes, "Positivityness. No one's forcing you to watch." But just the fact that they wrote the meanest comment and their Twitter handle is positivityness.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else we need to cover. Well, group date.
Also, Andy tweeted her tonight and was just like, "Watch out for Nick," essentially. She said several tweets tonight warning Caitlyn on that.
Oh, so it was more like a warning.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I still think Andy, it feels a little like she did something wrong with that whole Nick thing. He shouldn't have called her out.
Oh, he shouldn't have called her out.
But I think she still feels guilty, and I know there's probably a ton we don't know, but something about that just is weird to me.
Well, and
If Nick got that far with Andy, and he's coming back, and Caitlyn's like, "Sure, halfway into the show, I'm gonna bring you on." Like,
She could also text Caitlyn,
Yeah.
not tweet it.
she's doing a like. There's something
It's
about
very
that that's
public,
off to
yeah.
me that puts my favor more on Nick's side. And I don't know Andy. I know Nick a little bit. There's something about that that's weird to me. That puts my favor. Even if I wouldn't call him a friend, I would put my favor on Nick's side. There's something about that that's
so
off to
let's
me.
play out a quick hyperbole. What if Nick came and he won? In the sense that he was there at the end. What would people's reaction be? Tell me what your guys' reaction would be.
Ask
Write
the
it in.
fans.
If he
Let the
came-
fans.
and he won.
People would think that it's unfair.
It
All
would
right.
be an arrow.
It would be an arrow. Busted on national TV. All right, guys. Let's bring it in. And before I close out the show, I also do want to give a quick reminder. Actually, have you guys checked out Dance Battle America? This happened a few years ago.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right about it. Maria and Julianne Hough had this little dance battle over the holidays.
The very first one.
You were in
At
it?
Thanksgiving, yeah. My mom is actually in the video.
I actually
dancing
remember.
with me.
I remember watching those come across my Instagram on that Thanksgiving.
They were see, so you all saw it. Well, I guess it just grew and kept growing, and now it's gone to a national level, and they're introducing a special called Dance Battle America, and this is where America gets to take part in it. And all you have to do is go to dancebattleamericacasting.com, send in a video of your dance battle, and get an opportunity to be flown to LA and to battle Julianne and Maria and many more celebrities. So go to dancebattleamericacasting.com and send in your video. Find out more details at dancebattleamericacasting.com.
You can do the jazz hands like Chris did on their date.
Yes. Okay, let's closing off.
Over, sideways, and
Have we missed anything tonight? Because I know
under.
fans actually did want us to talk about the breakup from a few weeks ago.
Chris Soul.
Yes. So
Whitney Bischoff.
yes. Let's move on to some news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
All right, the lowdown. Surprise to all of us and to none of us. Chris and Whitney split up. Overall thoughts, did we see this coming?
I had heard rumors about it for weeks from her publicist, from a bunch of people. It just, I mean, like, even interviewing him, I'm sure you noticed a lot of stuff.
I want to talk about it because, I did spend some time with them, even post-show. We went to the Dance with the Stars after party, and Chris and Whitney were there, and you couldn't tell.
What was their body language like?
It was, I think it seemed like Chris was having a lot more fun than Whitney. I will say that. He actually grabbed my face. He's like, "Buzz you later, guy!" It was really funny.
Did I just snort?
Yeah.
You did. I've never done that before.
Also, you have to factor in that she was working at the time, like full-time and traveling, so she was probably really tired.
But I want to step back because I did talk to him every week, and I noticed something about a month before the show wrapped. he didn't talk about Whitney, about the two of them as much as he did the first few weeks. And I kind of noticed it, and it's not my job. I didn't want to pressure him on it because that's what you have the other outlets for. And our angle is more what the superfans want to know. But I did notice that you didn't hear them talking about Whitney as much, and you could see his passion for the show, for him being part of Dancing with the Stars, even more so than how he would speak about Whitney. So I always thought that was peculiar. But I saw them the last night, and they were cordial, they were happy. Did I see them lovey-dovey with each other? No.
Yeah.
So and that was May 18th. So
I think it's just so unfortunate because the second that couples get off this show, I feel like people are almost rooting for them to break up just because it adds to that number and people can make fun of the franchise, yet people tune in every single season. Like, I feel like every single tabloid, the day after the show, the finale, they're all like, oh yeah, they're in love. And then the next week it's like, oh, they were seen
Trouble in Paradise?
having coffee with another girl. And it's like, that doesn't...
But think of it this way. Okay, we all work in entertainment, and when you're on a project, you get close to your co-stars. In this case, let's say it's Whitney Carson. And this is Chris, and they're spending 9 hours together.
I don't think they're dating.
I'm not saying that at all, but the fact that he was with that Whitney more than the other Whitney throughout these last few months, and they don't have a lot of history. So, I mean, that could cause a rift. I'm speculating here. I'm just judging from when talking to him, that is the vibe I got. I didn't see any animosity between them, but it just seemed like that last month.
But it's when people start rumors, and then you have to have conversations about rumors.
Yep.
That's when it gets tricky. Because if you keep on hearing or seeing on the internet, people are badgering you, oh, your fiance is like dating someone else.
You have to back
because
yourself
they
up.
hear it as a rumor. Yeah, that has to be difficult.
Joseph Boza brought up a good fact, saying, well, Sean and Catherine survived the stress. But
So did Chris and Des.
But they had a lot of tension
Chris
as well.
Des wasn't on. He wasn't on.
That wasn't on the show. But
on Dance with Stars.
the difference between Sean and Catherine was that Catherine was by his side at all times, because I'd run into them, and Catherine was there at every function outside of the show.
Was that because she wasn't working?
That I do not know, but he made it a fact to keep them together.
She's a graphic designer, so she can work from anywhere.
That's awesome.
But I talked to Sean at the beginning of this season of Dancing with the Stars, and I asked him, I was like, what advice do you have for Chris? And he said, he's like, don't get caught up in it and spend more time with your fiance.
Very well said.
And to add on to that, I feel like there's already an expectation coming off of the show. Speaking more about the show in general, you commented to, people rooting for the breakup, but the expectation is already very difficult. You've just met this person, you started dating him, and in a short amount of time, you have this "she's my fiance" pressure. Like, think of anything that any relationship we've ever been in. It's like when people say, "Oh, you guys are going to move in together that early?" That's a lot of pressure. Think about after coming off of the show, publicly saying, I'm in love with this person and we're going to get married.
Yeah.
Talk about pressure.
And everyone has seen your relationship thus far, and they think that they know about it, so they feel like they're entitled to their opinion when they're not.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
And someone said the price of fame.
Let me tell you one quick thing, because I used to have people do this right when I got off of Dez's season. I would be in a conversation, and people would pull me away from my conversation, go, I have some questions for you, mister. Like, full on, I didn't know, and I'd be in a conversation. And it's because they felt entitled to, have their questions answered, to come to some resolve. I was like, whoa, this is such a weird experience. So I can't imagine how amplified that would be for someone like Chris.
I've noticed that more so with the Bachelor, Bachelorette franchise, people who have come off of that, than any other celebrity or person of interest that I've encountered, is that you can be. I remember I was out, and there was one of the guys from Breaking Bad, and I was out with Zach and Robert, and people were trying to take pictures with Zach and Robert versus the guy RJ Mitty, who was on Breaking Bad, and they felt more entitled to. They're just like, oh well, I don't feel as weird asking you because I feel like I know you.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
the real you, not the character.
Right.
You play.
Yeah.
You said you had some Scoopy Deets for us, by the way. Don't want you to think I forgot about some inside information tracks, doesn't he?
Well, I felt like I was just kind of disseminating that some a little bit. But the other thing I was going to say is
Yes.
the man chats. Girls, if you're watching, guys aren't sitting around talking about the dates like that. I love the man chats. Like whenever I see them, and it just seems so unnatural to listen
Forced
to
and
them.
serious.
Forced, yeah, it's never
you would
fun.
feel totally. You and your roommate totally have like.
Man chats?
Yes, yes, they do, and I've witnessed them.
Well, I'm not saying that men don't talk about the girls that they're dating in certain ways, but the way that it's like
So that Kaitlyn is really awesome. Did you have a good time?
when Nick shows up, they think this is blah 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 blah.
Sunday mornings, we used to sit on their couch.
Actually,
and they'd be
maybe I take it back.
What
Maybe
do
they
you think
do.
I should text this girl? Oh, I don't know.
Well, Brooks.
What's like?
Danny busted.
Okay, aside from Danny's
Are you
man
mad
chats,
that I just?
Here's why. Because that's not a man chat. That's two men with a woman giving us advice.
If
That's
I
different than
was-
an all-man chat.
I was like, I wasn't even in the room.
That's true. So
let's tie it into the actual show.
I don't know.
What you're saying, Brooks, is basically our producers kind of saying, now I need you to repeat X and Y, like recapping your feelings for Kaitlyn and talk to, let's say, JJ, and then JJ will respond back. Is it like that?
Yes, it's like,
Okay.
hey, how do you guys feel about X blank? And then they say, hey man, this is how I feel about this. Like men just don't do that in that way.
Expositioning.
They're like they're not that like open and honest about it. They might be like, hey, this is kind of the situation. What do you think? And then they like beat around the bush. But
I think they might be more open if they weren't all dating the same girl.
Yeah, sure.
If it was like, oh, we all went out last night and we all met different girls, they would have a conversation about
yes.
it. But
yes,
if
because
it's-
Phil
if
and
it's
I
the
have
same
never
girl-
dated the same girl, so
Yeah.
we can talk about it as in like, hey bro, this is my situation. What's yours? And he's like,
you
I'm
use that
dealing with
voice?
something similar. Here's how I handled it.
And
I'm
it's
like,
not
that's
awkward at
great.
all."
Let me use those pointers.
All right, so where do you guys fall on man chats? Thank you, Brooks, for shedding some light on that subject. So
Yeah.
should we move on to some predictions for next week?
Yes, I got one.
Oh, but even
Now,
before that,
your
sprinkle some good news.
TV.
Brady and Britt.
oh, I thought you were saying Kaitlyn being on Family Feud on June 21st.
Wait, that's happening?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to be on that show.
I know, I want to be on the
Daniel
show.
Haga just informed us about that.
Yeah, it was
Thank
Dancing
you.
Dancing with the Stars versus Bachelor people. For Celebrity Family Feud. Yeah.
So which team is Chris Soules going to be on?
I don't think he took part of that.
Guessing
I saw an
invitation got
Instagram on it. It
lost in
was.
the mail.
It was yeah. Sorry about that, Brooks. I believe it was. I forget. It was Sean and Catherine, and Jason Mesnick and Molly and Kaitlyn. That was it.
Mesnick.
Sorry, so no souls on either team. Okay, so predictions, Danny. You said you had one.
Yeah, I think Ian bows himself out next week.
It's a bold statement,
I think
buddy.
Ian bows. We saw a little foreshadowing. Their conversation doesn't go well, but Ian says to her, and I've said this before, I think Ian is one of the most stand-up guys on the show. He's got a square head on his shoulders. I think I don't mean
It's a
that
weird
lightly.
phrase.
That's-
Why do we say that?
I don't know. He's like he's a square. He's not a. He's a very perfect
Man.
shape.
If anyone knows where that came from, you square head.
Yeah, let me know. I mean that in the sense that he's got a very good, solid belief system and head on his shoulders. He thinks through things well. But they
Yeah.
showed us a little foreshadowing, and I had said this earlier in the show. I agree with him in that I would fault Kaitlyn a little more in this situation if I was one of these guys, in that you are basically telling me to my face by bringing this guy that you don't see anything here that's really standing out, so you're going to introduce something else.
But you think that's why he leaves, or he's okay with it until the dun da da, don't drop that da da da, don't drop that da da da.
He said to her that he thinks the problem is her and that she's a little bit of a surface person. I think that might be a little far, but we
That's
also
hard.
Is
we
that the
also-
line?
Yeah.
Yeah, we also don't
Whoa.
know what happens in the next episode, but to hear him say that, he's not coming back from that. Let's be real. If he's
Yeah.
going to drop that to her, she's not going to be like, thanks for the advice. I'll work on it. Here's
She's
a rose.
got
Yeah.
people for less.
Yeah, she's going to be
Why
yeah,
are
absolutely.
people so, like, confrontational this season?
I think that she's got a group of guys who know it. They're not just going to stick around for fun. They know what they like. Ian strikes me as a guy who knows what he wants. He's not going to waste his time. He's looking for
Do you think
that
that's
someone.
because they've had a choice this season?
Possibly.
guys, so they feel a little bit more in power.
Yeah, you're
They're
probably
like,
right.
we could have let you go, and I chose you.
And I chose you, so I'm gonna get my say.
Well, think about it in retrospect, because you're getting two completely different women. You're getting Kaitlyn, who's a little more edgier. You know,
I disagree. I think the other way around.
you think Britt's edgier?
I think Britt's a little edgier.
Really, it always seemed from what we saw over the last two seasons that
different
from the
ways.
jokes.
In different ways, I guess.
I think
yeah.
that
Britt is
on TV, Kaitlyn's edgier. I
with
think
the jokes, yeah.
I think is that where that perception's coming from? Is
Yeah,
because she
that
jokes
Brit-
and she's a little bit inappropriate and
Okay.
right, she seems a little more
more open.
lighthearted about it.
I think she's just more open about it.
Okay, and Britt seems like it's just emotional. She wanted to fall in love. Well, and just so dramatic. Is I guess what I'm saying about Britt. And so I'm wondering if
Sierra is more sweet.
more
She's
serious,
sweet, yeah.
more
Yeah.
and like what Cathy was saying, that these guys were, we could have let you go in favor for someone else.
I think Ian bows out, and what's the other guy that was there? Not Jared. The other guy that was there for Britt.
Jonathan.
Jonathan. I think those guys both go next week.
Yeah, because Sky's got to go.
We didn't get into a rose ceremony today.
Yeah, and she eliminated no one except for Clint this week. So
Yeah, who eliminated himself.
major cuts next week.
I
I'm
like
saying.
that there's not rose ceremonies. I like that there's not.
But
I know
that they have to leave.
I want the ending
I know, but
of the rose
there-
ceremony.
What if she just starts letting people go, though? Like, I'm not gonna put you
Is
guys
it
through
because
ceremony.
they don't
I didn't like
You're
that
out.
conversation. You're out.
they don't have more dramatic stuff? To,
You're
like,
cool. You're cool.
tie
You're
you
out.
over with?
F you. You're cool. You're cool.
All right, let us know who you think is going home, guys, because they're gonna start making some cuts, and I say now.
Yeah.
So that's it for another show.
Joe's
So,
gone.
Kathy, the lovely
think
Kathy,
Joe's gone?
our first true cupcake. Where can they
Aw.
find you?
You stole my gimmick. You can find me on Twitter at Catherine Kelley and on Instagram at Cathy Kelley.
Guys, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Danny Hoyt and on Snapchat at DannyHoyt47.
And if you want to chat, just call my phone number. It's on my Twitter, and that'll be easier because I'm bad with texting fat thumbs. But you can find me on Twitter at Brooks Forster.
And Jonathan, where can they find you?
You can find me at jmoulton87 on Twitter. Sorry.
In Twitter.
Yahoo.
And please follow me at JC Rubio TV on Instagram and Twitter. So for Jonathan, Kathy, Danny, Brooks, I'm JC. We'll see you.
Dramatic pauses.
Goodbye now. Bye. Bye now.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.